Hello, this is HQ here. Tonight we're going back to 1984, back to the moment when Reverend Jesse Jackson stepped onto the stage at the Democratic National Convention and delivered what many people consider one of the most important political speeches in modern American history. Now, understand this: Jesse Jackson was not just a candidate, he was a civil rights leader who worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He founded Operation Push. He built what he called the Rainbow Coalition, a political movement that tried to unite Black Americans, Latinos, working class whites, farmers, labor unions, LGBTQ Americans, Native Americans, Arab Americans, the poor, the forgotten, and the politically ignored. In 1984, he ran for president, and most people didn't think he had a chance, but he won millions of votes. He forced the Democratic Party to confront poverty, voting rights, economic inequality, foreign policy, and nuclear war. He didn't just campaign, he shifted the conversation. This speech is him stepping back after the campaign and saying, "We fought, we raised the issues, and now we unify." But what makes this speech powerful isn't just policy, the moral language, it's economic justice, it's unity without weakness, it's conviction without bitterness. And you're going to see how he frames America, not as a single color, but as a quilt.
We come together bound by our faith in a mighty God with genuine respect and love for our country and inheriting the legacy of a great party. The Democratic Party, which is the best hope for redirecting our nation on a more humane, just, and peaceful course. This is not a perfect party. We're not a perfect people, yet we are called to a perfect mission. Our mission: to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to house the homeless, to teach the illiterate, to provide jobs for the jobless, and to choose the human race over the nuclear race.
See, this is where he lays out the mission. He says the Democratic Party isn't perfect, of course. The people aren't perfect, but they're called to a perfect mission. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, house the homeless, teach the illiterate, provide jobs, choose the human race over the nuclear race. This is moral framing. He's not talking about party politics here. He's talking about human needs first. That changes the tone immediately. He elevates politics to moral responsibility.
That intangible combination of gifts, discipline, information, circumstance, courage, timing, will, and divine inspiration can lead us out of the crisis in which we find ourselves. Leadership can mitigate the misery of our nation. Leadership can part the waters and lead our nation in the direction of the promised land.
This is the leadership section. Leadership can part the waters. Leadership can lift boats stuck at the bottom. He's contrasting management with leadership. Management with leadership. He's saying leaders don't just maintain systems, they change direction. That's subtle but powerful. This is also a biblical imagery that he's doing. A religious man, of course, a minister. He's intentionally invoking Moses in the promised land. That language connects emotionally with a lot of people, even people that are Muslims or Jewish. It connected a lot of people at that time. He was very good. He was a very eloquent speaker.
3 days before he died, he had just called Richard Nixon from his dying bed, and many people wondered why. And I asked him, he said, "Jesse, from this vantage point, the sun setting in my life, all of the speeches, the political conventions, the crowds, and the great fights are behind me now. At a time like this, you are forced to deal with your irreducible essence, forced to grapple with that which is really important to you. What I've concluded about life, Hubert Humphrey said, when all is said and done, we must forgive each other and redeem each other and move on. Our party is emerging from one of its most hard-fought battles for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination in our history.
This is where he's telling the story between Hubert Humphrey and Richard Nixon from his deathbed. But just a little side note. Hubert Humphrey was Richard Nixon's main opponent in the 1968 presidential election. In 1968, the country was in chaos. The Vietnam War, cities were erupting in protest. Martin Luther King, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had been assassinated. People were angry and divided at that time. On one side, you had Richard Nixon, the Republican candidate, promising law and order and stability, like most Republicans do. On the other side, you had Hubert Humphrey, the Democratic candidate. Hubert Humphrey wasn't just some random politician. He was the sitting vice president under Lyndon B. Johnson. That meant he was tied directly to the Johnson administration, especially the Vietnam War, which had become deeply unpopular. His connection to Johnson hurt him, hurt his chances in the election against Richard Nixon. A lot of voters blamed the Johnson administration for escalating the war, even though Humphrey eventually tried to distance himself from Johnson war policy. A lot of Americans still saw him as a part of that machine and that war machine. Nixon capitalized on that. He positioned himself as the outsider who could restore order and end that chaos. He narrowly won that election. So Hubert Humphrey was Nixon's Democratic rival, 1968, and he lost in the most fought and turbulent election in our American history. So this is what Jesse Jackson is referring to. This is supposed to be reconciliation politics. He's telling Democrats not to tear each other apart after a hard primary. Let's come together. Competition should make us better, not bitter. Okay, and that line applies today.
America is not like a blanket, one piece of unbroken cloth, the same color, the same texture, the same size. America is more like a quilt, many patches, many pieces, many colors, many sizes, all woven and held together by a common thread. The white, the Hispanic, the black, the Arab, the Jew, the woman, the Native American, the small farmer, the business person, the environmentalist, the peace activist, the young, the old, the lesbian, the gay, and the disabled make up the American quilt.
The America is not a blanket. America is a quilt. This is one of the most powerful and quoted lines from that speech. This is the birth of what became mainstream diversity language decades later. He's reframing patriotism, not uniformity, unity. This metaphor is why his Rainbow Coalition concept mattered. It wasn't about one group dominating. It was about stitching together power. And this is the message we need today.
I would rather have Roosevelt in a wheelchair than Reagan on a horse.
He would rather have Roosevelt in a wheelchair than Reagan on a horse. He's contrasting our Republican values. He's contrasting Democratic values with Republican values. He's contrasting value over image, substance over symbolism. This is when he pivots from unity to critiquing.
But no such recovery is on the way for the least of these. Rising tides don't lift all boats, particularly those stuck at the bottom. For the boats stuck at the bottom, there's a misery index. This administration has made life more miserable for the poor. Its attitude has been contemptuous. Its policies and programs have been cruel and unfair to working people. They must be held accountable in November for increasing infant mortality among the poor. In Detroit, one of the great cities of the Western world, babies are dying at the same rate as Honduras, the most undeveloped nation in our hemisphere. This administration must be held accountable for policies that contribute to growing poverty in America. There are now 34 million people in poverty, 15% of our nation, 23 million are white, 11 million black, Hispanic, Asian, and others, mostly women and children. By the end of this year, there will be 41 million people in poverty. We cannot stand idly by. We must fight for change now.
This is where he begins to taking apart Ronald Reagan's policies, Republican policies. Do you see the similarity today? Poverty numbers, corporate tax breaks, infant mortality. He's just not criticizing Ronald Reagan emotionally. He's using statistics. He was very good at this. Poverty numbers, budget deficits, Social Security cuts. This part grounds the moral language and policy consequences. This is what we Democrats do. The balance is important. The balance is important.
Family life. He promised in 1980 a balanced budget, but instead we now have a record $200 billion budget deficit. Under Mr. Reagan, the cumulative budget deficit for his 4 years is more than the sum total of deficits from George Washington to Jimmy Carter combined. I tell you, we need a change.
When he talks about the record deficits and becomes the largest debtor nation, this is what he's talking about. This is economic warning language. He's arguing that supply side economics increases dependence and long-term weakness. He's making a case against the Republicans. He's making that case. He made that case. And here's where it gets interesting. Some of those debt concerns echo in politics today. The same problem with the Republican Party. He had the criticism down pat.
In this world in which we live, we dropped the bomb on Japan and felt guilty. But in 1984, other folks also got bombs. This time, if we drop the bomb 6 minutes later, we too will be destroyed. It's not about dropping the bomb on somebody. It's about dropping the bomb on everybody. We must choose to develop minds over guided missiles and think it out and not fight it out. It's time for a change.
When he talks about nuclear war right here, we drop the bomb 6 minutes later, we too will be destroyed. His case against war. This is Cold War anxiety. This was a real fear back in 1984. Kids are doing nuclear drills in schools. Do you believe that? Nuclear drills in schools. He's framing peace as survival, not softness, not weakness, survival.
I didn't quite understand what he meant as a child growing up, but I understand a little better now. If you raise up truth, it's magnetic. It has a way of drawing people. With all this confusion and this conviction and bright lights and parties and big fun, we must raise up the simple proposition. If we lift up a program to feed the hungry, they'll come running. If we lift up a program to study war no more, our youth will come running. If we lift up a program to put America back to work as an alternative to welfare and despair, they will come working. If we cut that military budget without cutting our defense and use that money to rebuild bridges and put steel workers back to work and use that money and provide jobs for our cities and use that money to build schools and pay teachers and educate our children and build hospitals and train doctors and train nurses, the whole nation will come running to us.
If we lift up truth, it's magnetic. Then he lists feeding the hungry, rebuilding bridges, cutting military waste, and investing in jobs. This is aspirational in economics. He's saying people will rally around fairness if you present it clearly and concisely. It's populist language, but rooted in justice, not anger, not grievance politics that we hear from this particular administration. Grievance politics is all we hear. This is the complete and utter exact opposite of that.
We can win. I just want young America to do me one favor. Just one favor. Exercise the right to dream. You must face reality, that which is, but then dream of the reality that ought to be, that must be. Live beyond the pain of reality with the dream of a bright tomorrow. Use hope and imagination as weapons of survival and progress. You exercise the right to dream. You must face reality, that which is, but then dream of the reality that ought to be, that must be. Live beyond the pain of reality with the dream of a bright tomorrow. Use hope and imagination as weapons of survival and progress. Use love to motivate you and obligate you to serve the human family. Young America, dream. Choose the human race over the nuclear race. Bury the weapons and don't burn the people. Dream. Dream of a new value system. Teachers who teach for life and not just for a living. Teach because they can't help it. Dream of lawyers more concerned about justice than a judgeship. Dream of doctors more concerned about public health than personal wealth. Dream.
He's connecting civil rights struggle to your imagination. He's telling young people that reality isn't fixed. That's powerful framing. He was a powerful speaker back in the day. He was a powerful speaker.
We've come from this grace to amazing grace. Our time has come. Give me your tithe. Give me your poor, your huddled masses who yearn to breathe free. And come November, there will be a change because our time has come. Thank you and God bless you.
It's rhythmic, it's ceremonial, cadence, civil rights rally style brought into a national convention. And this is where he became very, very, very famous. Very famous. Okay. So when Jesse Jackson says exercise the right to dream, he's not offering a Hallmark card slogan. He's making a political argument. He's dreaming in his language. It's not fantasy. Dreaming in his language is not fantasy. It's resistance. It's strategic. It's powerful. He's speaking to young people who were born into segregation, poverty, redlining, underfunded schools, and Cold War fear. He's telling them something radical, that the world you inherited is not the world you're required to accept. That is the opposite of grievance politics today. Grievance politics today tells people you're a victim of someone else's gain. Someone took something from you. Someone took your spot. Your decline is someone else's rise. The answer is resentment. This is what we have today on the Republican side of the aisle. Jackson's message flips that completely on its head. He's not saying they stole your future. He's saying build another one. He said dream of another one. That's a massive difference. Grievance politics feeds on scarcity. Dream politics feeds on possibilities. When Jackson tells young America to put hope in their brains and not dope in their veins, he's talking about agency. He's saying despair is a trap, and despair is politically useful to people who want you angry but inactive, like the Republican Party. But imagination produces movement. The civil rights movement itself was an act of imagination. Before the Voting Rights Act, before public accommodations, before desegregation, there had to be someone who could imagine that it could be done. That's what he's connecting. He's telling young people the same country that once legally segregated can legalize justice. The same government that once denied you rights can protect them. Systems are built by people, which means they can be rebuilt by those same people. That's hopeful, but it's not naive. He doesn't deny poverty. He doesn't deny war. He doesn't deny suffering. He names it. He numbers it. He indicts it. But then he says, now dream beyond those limitations. The moral courage now contrasts with the grievance-based leadership. Do you all see the similarities today of what he's saying? Grievance leadership thrives on nostalgia. Make it like it used to be. Take it back. Restore what we lost. Make it great again. Jackson doesn't say go backwards. He says go forwards, go upwards. He doesn't promise restoration of some mythical golden age like we hear today. Make America great again. Great for whom? He promises expansion of voting rights, expansion of opportunity, expansion of coalition. Grievance politics shrink that circle. It makes us smaller. Jackson is trying to enlarge it. And here's where this becomes a democratic framework. If Democrats are going to take anything from Jesse Jackson, it is this. Lead with moral imagination, not cultural resentment. Run on feeding the hungry, not punishing the powerful. Run on jobs, not just outrage. Run on expanding democracy, not narrowing it. Jackson understood something critical. When you speak to the bottom, you build the top. When you lift the poor up, you stabilize the middle class. When women win, children win. When children win, workers win. That is a coalition logic. That is interconnected politics. That is where we need to be in the Democratic Party. Grievance politics isolates groups and tells them they are in competition with somebody else. If they get it, then you can't get it. If they come up, then you can't come up. If they got it, then you got to get them out of the country, then you can have it. See how they talk about it today? It's the same thing. Jackson, he said people could rise together. That's why his Rainbow Coalition wasn't identity politics in the shallow sense. It wasn't dividing people into boxes. It was stitching boxes together into power. He made morality practical. He said cut the military excesses and build bridges. He said enforce voting rights and representation changes. He said peace isn't weakness, it's survival. He framed politics as a vehicle for human dignity. That's powerful because it demands something from the listener. Grievance politics tells you to blame somebody. Dream politics tell you to build. Blame feels good. Building takes courage, and courage is what he's really calling for. Exercise a dream, meaning don't let anyone convince you that the current arrangement is permanent. Don't let cynicism become your identity. Don't let fear shrink your imagination. It's almost defiant optimism, not blind optimism, defiant optimism. He's saying we come from slavery to platform fights at a national convention. You better stop it. That happened because people dream beyond their condition. Now here's a hard truth Democrats have to face. You cannot out grievance politics. If you try to match the resentment on the Republican side, you lose your moral frame. The Democrats' contrast has to be this. We are the party of expanding the table. We are the party that measures greatness from the bottom up. We are the party that believes justice strengthens the whole nation. That doesn't mean soft. It doesn't mean passive. It means disciplined. Jackson was disciplined in his hope. He confronted Reagan directly. He dismantled the numbers that Reagan kept presenting. He challenged foreign policy. He wasn't timid, but even in critique, he aimed upward. That's the lesson. A democratic framework rooted in Jackson's vision. Protect voting rights, invest in education and jobs as moral priorities, frame economic policy as dignity policy, speak to youth as builders, not pawns, reject politics built on fear of demographic change, like they're trying to do today, offer a forward-looking American identity, not remember when, but imagine what. Okay. Because grievance politics exhausts a nation. Dream politics mobilizes it. That's what we need today. Jackson left the template, name the injustice, count the cost, build the coalition, lift the imagination, invite the country higher. That's the difference between governing from resentment and governing from vision. And if Democrats truly want to separate themselves, that's the lane. That's where we need to go. Not anger as identity, but justice as architecture. That is what exercise the right to dream really means. It means the future is not fixed, and neither is America. Thank you for tuning in to my tribute to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Please come back.